Hello, hello. Question: who was Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche? Okay. Friedrich Nietzsche was a German philosopher around the time between the time 1844 and 1900. He was 66 when he died. In 1900, that's when my grandmother was born, who was also not alive anymore. She hasn't been alive since I was 13 years old, which is a very, 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 very long time. So, but anyway, the 1800s were, as we can imagine, very, very different to 2016. So obviously, and his greatest works he wrote in around 1880, Zarathustra and other things. And his entire development from birth to 66 years old was incredibly dramatic and extremely different and artistic and eccentric and passionate and infinitively deep. This man was infinitively deep, deeper than any of these other philosophers, and even the very deep ones like Camus and some other French philosophers, some existentialist philosophers, or the contemporary first psychologists or biologists that were setting the new stage at that time. He was by far the deepest into the rabbit hole, I would say, diving philosopher. And he suffered his whole life, and he questioned himself. He always said, burn yourself to ashes to be reborn as a completely new, fresh flower who understands everything with completely new vision, with a completely new perspective on things, not the old perspective. So the only other philosopher who I can think of who talks like that is Gautama Buddha and Jiddu Krishnamurti, which is one thing. Okay, they're like Gautama Buddha slash Jiddu Krishnamurti. That's why I said the only one other philosopher. Just two different lifetimes. Okay, so Friedrich Nietzsche and Jiddu Krishnamurti understood that we cannot approach life and the questions of living and understanding life and death and the meaning of life unless we look at it from any kind of perspective we can find. Not just look at it from perspective A all the time throughout your whole life, which most people do. They are glued to perspective A. That's the first one they come across because that is what their parents taught them. So, or let's say the perspective C, the C word, the cancer type of perspective on life, the Christian perspective, The Martin Luther monk, not to be confused with Martin Luther King. Those are totally two different souls. I'm talking about Martin Luther, the monk, the middle-aged monk in the 1500s, who started this puritanical, life-denying Lutheran evangelical branch. Okay, so it's a very dangerous school, and it has done so much damage to life and well-being of animals and humans. It's infinite. It wouldn't fit into any kind of volume collection there is. It wouldn't fit into any word processor. The amount of atrocities that Martin Luther has caused, well, unintentionally, obviously, if he had really looked at it from a different perspective, yes, I would always say, from the ever renewing perspective, he would have understood what this would cause for the next 600 years. So, but he didn't know. He was stuck in his ego, in his slave moralistic viewpoint. He hated the popes that were ruling at that time. The two brothers from the Medici family, the only really progressive popes that have ever existed in history, more progressive than Pope Francis, I would argue. I don't know Pope Francis that well. I think he is quite progressive. So, but what it looks like, the Medici popes, they were like really far into science. They were embracing Galileo Galileo. They were working with him. He was their mentor even. He lived with them for a long time before they moved to the Vatican. I want people to read about this, learn about these things, learn who Martin Luther was, question it, not just accept what person A, B, or C says, or your parents, or your teachers. Yeah. Maybe your parents were not right about this. Could that be? Or is this something taboo? Thou shalt not question your parents or something like this? Completely wrong. Right? It's like, as Derek Jensen pointed out in his book about the atrocities in history that people have committed, particularly white people that have ventured out around the world and have exploited indigenous people around the equator and Antarctica and so on. So he pointed out a passage in the Bible where the son of Ham, I think was his name. The son of Ham saw his dad drunk one day and naked on the bed. Okay? That, just seeing that, was enough to get him eternal punishment and damnation. What do you think they're trying to do with this story? It's an invented story. What are they trying to do with this? They're trying to scare you children into not ever questioning your parents. Okay? Because if you do question an authority, you're going to be condemned to hell. So this stuck very sticky with people, obviously, throughout the centuries. And I don't know when this was written. This is probably even older than Apostle Paul. But this serves one purpose: to keep people in fear, keep people dependent, keep people unempowered, and keep people malleable and exploitable. Okay, so You need to learn this. You need to understand this, okay? And that is why Friedrich Nietzsche hated Christianity. He hated it because he saw what it was doing to people and the whole planet and the animals and all life. Okay, he saw this. And I want people to wake up and start to ask more questions and question the authorities, question all authority, all, question Hollywood, your parents, the popes, the clergy, the ministers, the presidents, your local administrators, all, okay? Question your physicians too. They don't know everything. They sure want to think that they want to know everything. They like power, people, okay? They like power. If you question them, they get very pissed because it steps on their egos. Okay? But you must question them or you cannot navigate yourself through life. If you don't question your doctor, you're gonna end up in a hospital and they're gonna exploit you, because most of them do, okay? They like your money, okay? They don't care about your body parts. Most of them don't. Well, there are a few here and there who care. And there's even a physician who he used to cut people's livers out. He found Dr. Scholl's, the herbalist, okay? And because that is a physician who really wants to help, he decided, okay, Dr. Scholl's is cool. I'm going to read his books and I'm going to apply what he said. And lo and behold, he never had to cut someone open again because he used Dr. Scholl's herbs. And the livers of people healed by themselves. Okay? This is not a miraculous thing. This is not some kind of miraculous regression of the sea, whatever tumor was. You know, this is called natural, holistic healing. The body is a very intelligent existence. Just don't put obstacles in its path anymore, poisons and stress and pain. Give it what it needs and it can heal itself, okay? And this holistic approach, can be applied to all areas in life, including thinking, questioning. If you question, you are on the path of you're completely on the road of holistic living. You're on the holistic path towards making the world a better place. So, and that is what Friedrich Nietzsche, the most hated philosopher of all in all history, that's what he promoted. He promoted the holistic path. This is the path of introspection, of questioning people, of questioning yourself, of questioning your willingness to believe everything, and the promoter of life and happiness and love, true love for all living beings, equally much, okay? So this is my word for today. I will talk about it some other time again. Take care. Peace.